Right, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This will be Sew and Chat number 2, where I find 30 minutes of the day to get some progress made on a sewing project. And if you want to spend 30 minutes and get some progress done on your projects, go ahead and grab whatever you're working on, sewing, knitting, crocheting, and hang out with me for 30 minutes. So let's set my timer for 30 minutes, yes. So I left off having marked my darts on the front pieces of this blouse, Simplicity 9287, and sewed one of the darts. So today I hope to finish the darts on this piece and mark the next darts. A lot of time in sewing is not spent actually sewing. It's preparing, it's marking, it's cutting out the pattern, cutting out the fabric, a lot of things other than using the actual sewing machine. So, I move at my own pace, and that is okay. So to speed up or to help me do this dart, I'm going to mark it with some thread and see if that helps me out when I actually do the sewing. Because it's hard, especially with this dart, because it's not like a triangle dart. You have to kind of go in and down. So hopefully this will make things better. But anyway, so last time I talked about Married at First Sight, episodes 1 through 10. Well, the progress up to episode 10 of this current season. And I just watched episodes 11 and 12. I guess Decision Day will not come until next week, so I will be waiting for that. But so there have been some developments apparently with some of the couples. That kind of looks like it changes a little bit for some of the couples, mainly Belynda and Chad. So Belynda and Chad are like the second to oldest couples there. And so far it seemed like they were doing well, getting along, no big issues. But this week, or these 2 episodes, showed them having a little bit of problems. Mainly, Belynda was not enjoying Chad's attitude with production schedules and production timelines and what they wanted him to do for production for the show in which he applied, and the show in which they were married. So he's having a hard time. He doesn't like things being switched up on him all willy-nilly, because he has a life, okay? And we can understand that, but we can also understand that, and maybe they should spell it out when you sign up for a show like this. Like, you signed up for a TV show, and for TV, they need to get footage of you. But anyway, Belynda's not happy with his attitude and the way he's been acting during this process. And so she, I guess, expressed that to him and saying, I don't like your attitude. I don't like you speaking for me. And then she also took one of the things he was saying as lying, because he said that he talked to Josh and he was feeling the same way. And she said, "Oh, don't bring them into this. I'm going to talk to them myself." And so they're having a breakdown of communication. And it is revealed that Belynda had a hard time in her last marriage, with fights and yelling and conflict that she doesn't like, and she likes things to be pleasant and positive at all times. And so she is not interested in anything that is disturbing her peace. And so they had to bring in the expert a couple times just to see if they could work through this before decision day. Chad is like, after decision day, all this goes away and we can just go back to being normal people. But she's like, well, if you're like this with the cameras, who knows what you're going to be like without the cameras. So I just don't know. So I can understand her point is like, he's impatient with different processes and needs to have control over things and takes out his frustration on others when it's not necessarily their fault. And she doesn't like that. She expressed that before, like early on when he got expressed his displeasure with how things were going. But now she, it came up again. So the expert was saying, getting to the bottom of why Belynda is not into conflict. She said, how her trauma is hypervigilant now, and any little sign of conflict, she's like, I don't need it. I'm out of here. And the expert said that she needs to understand that this relationship is not the past relationship. And if you want this to work, you need to kind of take a step back and realize that, it's not going to escalate, or it shouldn't escalate. Now, if it does escalate, definitely don't stick around. So who knows where that is going to end up on decision day next week, but if they're not able to figure it out, they might not go along with it. Because the last time I think I said I thought they were both going to say yes, just because they didn't have any real problems. But now they do, and so things might have changed a little bit. Going on to Belynda's daughter, Jalyn. She and Josh have been trying to find some activities to do. They've gotten their friend group together to see how they mesh. And, went to a pottery night or a paint night or whatever, just to see if they could have some activities that people could enjoy. And, I think you kind of recognize when things aren't very natural in conversation. Someone brought up, well, what do you two like to do together? What hobbies are you two into? And they're like, the way they edited it, they're like, Which is, do you have to have hobbies with your spouse? Or a lot of hobbies? Maybe you can have one. Maybe you both like wine tasting or golfing or something like that. Maybe you have one good hobby. Maybe they should find one thing they can like together and do that. But if they're looking to do every little single thing together, I don't know if that's feasible. But anyway, they edited it to say like, oh, we don't know. We don't have anything in common. But they're working through it, and then they had another scene where they were at an axe throwing place. So they're trying to go out, trying to have fun with them and their friend group, their community. And then at the end of the last episode, or episode 12, Josh was like, or Jalyn was like, maybe you can go to Burning Man this year, and then next year we can, think of something else to do. Do a little retreat, a little getaway. And Josh reveals, I'm not even thinking about Burning Man. Like, if I can't go with you, I don't even want to go there. Which he seemed really obsessed 2 episodes ago. But now he's saying he would be fine without Burning Man. So maybe that's him trying to just smooth things over and envision a life with Jalyn. I still don't think he has to go with her or she has to go with him for him to enjoy, but maybe he does. Maybe that was his thought, was that he would get on here, get married to somebody, and they could go to Burning Man together. My thing is, if you go to Burning Man, why didn't you meet someone there? All your people were there. They were right there. And you didn't see anybody there. So obviously, well, not obviously, new people could show up in a year. But he didn't find anybody there. So now you have somebody else that's into different things. And he's going to be good with that. So it looks like they are in a good spot and are trying to find things to do together outside of Burning Man. So I don't think my prediction on them has changed from earlier. I think they'll both, well, Josh will say yes. Jalyn, with this revelation that he's no longer going to go to Burning Man, she might be a yes as well. Okay. Now to Soul the Dark. Where is this? Okay. So let's move on to Brittany and Will, my favorite Black couple of the season. Oops. If I can pull this out. Brittany and Will. Brittany surprises Will with a birthday brunch with his mother. He's not into big to-dos about his birthday, so a quiet little brunch with just those three was very much appreciated by Will. Shows Brittany is listening and pays attention. And they seem to be having a good time. I think I hear Will say he loves her at some point, or in like a hidden camera moment. She's telling him that she loves him, and then it sounds like he says that he loves her back. And so that should make Brittany happy, right? It should make her happy. Well, they go on a little boat ride. Supposed to be romantic, and Brittany asks Will, what does loving mean to you? I guess she wants to get to the bottom of, what do you mean when you say you love me? And Will dutifully answers. He'll answer a question sometimes. It didn't seem like he paused at all. He's like, oh, well, love you, blah, blah, blah. And then he asked her back what it means. And she says, oh, it's more of a feeling with me, which is different, which is fine. It is what it is. Now, when somebody says it is what it is, it's not usually like a great context. It's not like, oh, I love that you love me this way. Like, it's not my way, but I guess it's good enough. That's what it was giving. And so Will got annoyed and was like, so I answered the question and you didn't like my answer. I just can't do anything right. And she's like, no, I didn't mean that. And so she starts crying, and because she's sad, because she made him feel that way, and she apologizes. Will is just like, it's too much. Which, the way they showed it, did seem like a bit much. Like, she kind of did compare their answers. Maybe she didn't like his definition of how he loves her. But yeah, definitely didn't engender like romantic times to be like, oh, typical Will, you just love me with your head, not your heart, like me. So he was annoyed, and that put some doubt in his mind. Now, on the other hand, I don't think Will needed any particular reason to put doubt in his head about Brittany, because I was never convinced that he was all in anyway. Although when they had brunch, his mother did say that he's a private person and hard nut to crack, which is nice, a mother to stand up for son. But so Will wasn't happy at the end. And so they have to depart, get ready for decision day. They have to leave each other. Did I mark this? I don't see any markings. Oh, Lord. They have to depart, and, they're saying their goodbyes. I don't see any markings. So, anyway, they say their goodbyes, and they have to spend the night by themselves. And at the end of episode 10 or 12, they reveal that Will calls Brittany the day of and, warns her, gives her a heads up. Oh, maybe it's on the other side. Oh, yeah. Gives her a heads up that he's not going to say yes. He's not going to do it. He's going to say no on decision day. And so that was kind of the cliffhanger they left the episode on. Brittany's trying to trying to absorb that piece of information and not let it, ruin her day. And she's like, I'm hoping he's joking. I'm hoping that he's not serious. I don't know why anyone would call someone on a serious day and tell them point blank, I'm going to say no, and then they not be serious about it. I believe Will is very serious. And he was doing her a courtesy. I guess he didn't want her to be surprised when they get to the room. I've never seen that before in the seasons that I've watched, where they let us know that someone warned somebody ahead of time they were going to say no. So I guess with that cliffhanger, Brittany's probably going to try to convince Will that they should be together. I don't know. Will says he says no because he doesn't like people that invalidate his feelings. I just think Brittany overanalyzes a lot of things. And they both kind of overanalyze, but she overanalyzes out loud and says it to his face. I think he overanalyzes and just internalizes. But yeah, so with that bombshell, if he literally says he's gonna say no, I'm gonna take him at his word. I predicted he was gonna say no anyway. That seemed to be a shock to her. So that might be a very tense decision day moment next week. We'll all be tuning in. But if he does say no, I hope Brittany takes lessons from this experience, lets him go, doesn't beg him to stay. Please don't. I don't like how I marked this. I need to mark this again. I don't want her to beg this man to stay with her. Please and thank you, Brittany. Just let it go, move on, take the lessons. Maybe continue therapy, I don't know. And find the guy for you. I remember on one season with in DC, man, that season was a disaster. So bad. Everyone was terrible. I don't think anybody made it. But this one guy, he just couldn't tell the truth. He lied about everything. And the lady he was married to kind of recognized it right away. And she's like, he's a pathological liar. And so, of course, she said no on decision day, as very well she should have. I don't even know if they made it to the end. That was crazy. But she said no. And I was like, this man's on national TV. Who is going to, deal with that? And lo and behold, like a year later or something like that, I see a video on YouTube where this lady is talking about, I think she married him, same guy. And she said, yeah, he don't lie to me. I had to nip that in the bud. I trained him not to lie to me. And I said, wow. I don't know if that could be me. But all that to say, I guess there's somebody for most people. And so Brittany can take lessons from this, heal, ponder and all that. And she too can find someone new. I believe that. I believe she can do it. Someone that is right for her, good looking, communicative, emotionally connected to her, all the things she wants. She can find that in someone else and live happily for at least a little while. Not ever after. Who knows that? Okay, so Rhonda and Pat, unfortunately, Rhonda's stepdad did pass away during taping, and that is sad. And so she hasn't had time to really focus on the relationship. But in episode 11, though, Pat had his friend come in and he was chatting about everything that was going on and, the difficulties he's been having. And, at first his friend was like, oh, it does sound difficult. But then Rhonda came in and he immediately said, yeah, Pat, stop it. That was bad. Quit it. And I'm like, are you making a play for Rhonda? Are you trying to make yourself look good? I couldn't see his ring finger. Maybe he's married, but he was taking Rhonda's side and saying, Pat, you need to step up, man. Rhonda got emotional because this man, who she doesn't know, immediately understood. And Pat doesn't. And then Pat reveals, like, I don't feel like I can be myself. I'm trying. And in past relationships, I lose myself trying to be everything for everybody else and not myself, not me, which is not a good thing. So I think Pat reiterates that at episode 11 or episode 12. That he doesn't think he can be himself. And Rhonda's like, yes, Pat, I want you to be yourself. But obviously, Rhonda has a problem with him being himself because every time she complaining, he's himself, I think. So I don't know how that's going to work out. What did I say last time? I think I said Pat is going to say no. And Rhonda also might say no. Those two might be both no. And after these 2 episodes, I think that is the case. And finally, we have Meghann and Derek, full parents to be mode. They babysit some kids that they know, go all out, they have pizza, games, outside playing. I'm like, of course, you have kids for 2 hours, it's fun. 2-hour kids are the best. It's the 24-hour kids that are like, oh my goodness. The sick kids, the defiant kids, you know? But anyway, they have fun with 3 kids. And Derek's like, yeah, you look comfortable with 3 kids. What do you think about 3 kids? Derek is so obsessed with 3 kids. And Megan's like, yeah, I can see 3 kids. She like just kind of relents and it's just like, okay, 3. God. So Meghann is kind of like a different person by the end of this, which is interesting. She seemed very strong-willed at first, and now she's like, yes, Derek, 3 kids. And there you go. They tell their parents, or they tell her parents that she's pregnant, and they looked a little shocked. They're like, that's interesting. But ultimately, I think they're happy. They're going to have grandkids, or a grandkid at least. Prayerfully so. Derek's moving into her big, beautiful house. She's going shopping for a new car. I'm like, y'all are moving very fast. 2 weeks pregnant. And a new, moving in, new car and everything. So it seems like they have fully embraced the pregnancy and their soon to be co-parenting status. They did have a talk about, the stakes being a little higher for decision day because they are pregnant. And Meghann was giving them like yeah, but, we don't want to be together. It doesn't, we don't have to be together. I think she was just putting that out there like, people co-parent all the time. No big deal. But I think they're both going to say yes. They seem very family oriented, and I think they would definitely want to be like a 2-parent household for this child, at least for the foreseeable future. And so I think they're going to say yes. Did I miss anybody? Don't think so. So next week we're patiently waiting for decision day and reunion. I hope they do a reunion. That would be fun. So in the second All right, 30 minutes is done. Wonderful. So we have these darts are all done. The next part are 2 darts, or 4. Oh, 2 darts in the back section. So yeah, slow and steady runs the race. I hope you made progress on your project or whatever you're working on. And let me know if you watch Married at First Sight as well. All right, bye.